Hello and welcome. My name's Jessica Rose. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a 3-drop Briolette necklace. These are really lovely necklaces. They're very versatile. You can do them in any colour. You can do them in mixtures of colours. You can have obviously any number of beads you like, but I'm going to show you how to make this design. So how to wrap these Briolette beads. So I've got 3 Briolette beads, and Briolette just means that they're drilled at the top. So instead of a classical bead where the hole goes straight through, you've got the hole going across the top. So I'm going to show you how to wrap those, how to attach it onto a chain, and also how to create a clasp at the back, or we're going to use a shop bought clasp, but how to attach your clasp at the back so that you have this wonderful necklace. It's a very commercial design, the kind of thing you could make and sell if you're starting a jewelry business, or perhaps make it for friends or as a gift, or obviously for yourself. So let's have a look at the things that we need for this project. I've got my 3 Briolette beads, and I'm using some chunky big ones for this project, but you could use small ones as well. I've got some silver plated chain. I've got some 0.4mm silver plated wire, and I need a nice chunk of that. And then for the back of my chain, I've got a lobster clasp and 2 jump rings. You can buy a chain that is ready to go, and then you don't need to buy those bits. But if you have just loose chain, it's called, then we can make it the length that you like. Then I've got my plier set, so I've got some chain nose pliers here, I've got some side cutters, I've also got some round nose pliers, and I might use some flat pliers as well to help with my jump rings. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is wrap my central Briolette. So I'm going to take a length of 0.4mm wire. And just a note on looking after this wire, you want to keep it together as a bundle, and you want to keep this wrapped section, if you've got a bundle like this, together, because if you let go of that, it will just turn into a big giant ball of wire. So I'm just undoing it section by section so that I can get a nice long length. Probably about 1/2 metre will be plenty. I want to make sure that I've definitely got enough, and I can always cut excess off. So I'm just going to cut that with my pliers, my side cutters. Then I'll place this through the Briolette. Now this Briolette is a little bit vulnerable, as you can see it's a little bit cracked. They are natural stones, so they do sometimes come with bits like this, so I just want to be ultra careful that I don't snap it, but that is fine. So I'm going to thread through a length of the wire there to work with, and I'm just going to bend this side up, and what I want to do is create a triangle around the Briolette. So I'm going to do the same on this side, and I want them to cross in the middle. So I want to make it relatively tight but not too tight. I've got a bit of a gap there because I don't want to break the top of the Briolette. And then just holding that in place, I'm going to wrap the smaller wire around, and I'm going to bring the larger wire up so that it comes straight out of it. And then I can wrap a little bit more. And I'm going for this sort of 90-degree angle approximately with the 2 wires. Then I can wrap a few more times. And because I'm using quite fine wire, I can do all of this with my fingers. If I was using a very thick wire, I'd probably need some pliers to help me to push it round. So just a couple of wraps there, I don't need a lot. And then I'm going to cut off the smaller wire with my cutters, nice and tight in there. And using my chain nose pliers, I'm just going to tuck that little sharp end in. So every time we cut, afterwards we tuck. And rub my finger over to make sure that it's nice and smooth. Okay. Now I want to make the loop. So the loop is going to attach it to the chain. So just before I do that, I want to get my chain ready. So I'm just going to place that down there. Bring in my chain. And I'm going to find, because I'm using loose chain, I've cut off roughly what I need, but I'm going to find the middle. So I'm going to put the two ends together at the top, go all the way down, making sure there's no knots in there. And I'm going to find the central piece of chain. If I don't get it right, it's not the end of the world, but I'm just going to go for approximately the middle. So I will have time to adjust my chain at the end. So in a minute, once we've started the loop, we're going to place it through there. So I'm just going to have that at the ready. Going back to my briolette, I'm going to use my round nose pliers, place them on the top about 1/2 centimetre from the end of the pliers, holding everything in place. I'm just going to twist backwards about 45 degrees, just a little bit backwards, and then wrap around the pliers forwards and to one side, just like that. Now before I do anything more, I'm ready to place on my chain, and I want to put on my chain so that it sits here, inside there. So using the end and the end of my chain, thread it through. All the way down. And as it gets to the bottom, I just want to make sure it's captured in that loop nicely. Now you can of course make a briolette and then thread it onto the chain, but if I want to keep fixed where my beads are going to stay, then this is a better way to do it, and I do for this project. Now I put my round nose pliers back in and I'm ready to wrap. So I'm going to take my wire under and over. And again, under and over. And if the end, I'm just going to show you by taking it out, gets a little bit, if this section gets a bit wonky, you can always go in with your pliers and just straighten it very gently. I don't want to put too much pressure on the wire. And I may need to do that again towards the end. So, but for the most part, we keep it in, and we're just going to go for it with our wrap now. So taking my time, I want to do one wrap after the other. I also want to make sure my bead stays nice and straight, so I may need to adjust it and support it as I go along. And keep going. And I'm going to be covering that bead at the top. Obviously, the more of these you do, the quicker you get, but there is no rush. We take our time with jewellery making, we enjoy it. And don't worry if the first ones are a little bit messy or the wire doesn't do exactly what you want. It will improve the more of them that you make. So just keep going. And I can choose how long I want to keep going for, how much of the bead I actually want to wrap. I'm going to do a little bit more. It's a design choice that you can make. And then when I'm happy with it, I'm just going to do the last couple of wraps like this way, however you feel most comfortable. We're going to end off the wrap. So how we end the wrap is we do it in the middle, so not at the edge. And I like to go into the middle and create a 90-degree angle of where I'm going to cut it. And I cut just before that. And that's how I get a nice neat cut. And then I'm just going to very, very gently, and this really is very gently because I don't want to squash the bead or all this wrapping that I've done. I'm just going to tuck that little end in and make sure that it is smooth as you can get it. And that is our first wrap. It's looking good. We do have this little bit at the side, but that's just a natural part of that bead. So then all I do is repeat the exact same process on either side. But in order to get the pieces where I want them, I'm going to first of all bring them in and have a think about where I want it to sit. Then the next thing I like to do is get a little piece of wire, and I will count the chain along to where I want it and place that wire through the chain so that I know that's my little marker. That's where I'm going to attach this one, and I'll do the same on the other side. So I'm not going to count it in front of you now, just because that's not going to be fun to watch, but I will normally count through. So I'm going to guess for now. And pop the wire through. Obviously working with a thicker chain is a little bit easier at this stage, but this is fine, as long as we're not in a rush. There we go. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and repeat the exact same process. And obviously you can rewind back if you want to and have a look again at how I did it to attach those two on. And once that's done, I'll show you how to do the back of the necklace. So now that I've attached all three of my beads on using the same method, I'm ready to do the back of my piece. I would recommend holding it up as a necklace on yourself in front of a mirror so that you can work out the length that you would like. But I'm going to use approximately the same as the one that I've done before. Just put it next to there. And so I'm going to use about here at the back. And I'm going to cut there. But just to make sure before I cut it that it's fairly even, I just hold the piece up and make any little adjustments that I need to. It doesn't matter if it's like one link out on something like this, because I'm going to attach clasps and jump rings, so each side is not going to be perfectly even anyway. Then using my cutters, I'm just going to cut one bit at a time. Just nice and firmly till it comes off. And get rid of the excess chain. So now I've got my two back sections to work with, and I want to attach a clasp and a jump ring. So using two flat pliers, I'm going to start by opening a jump ring. These jump rings, I'll just check the size. They're 5mm, but you could use 5, 6 or 7. It doesn't really matter for this project. So I'm using two flat pliers. I've got flat nose pliers and chain nose, which are also flat pliers because they're flat on the inside. And with jump rings, you always want to open them this way. You never want to open them side to side, so you always open front to back to make sure you don't ruin the integrity of the shape of the jump ring. So I open it up, place on my lobster clasp, and I'm going to place on my chain, which can be a little bit fiddly because this is a very fine chain. So just deep breaths and take your time. Sometimes it goes straight on, sometimes it takes a little while. There we go. So I've got my chain and my clasp on there, and now I'm going to close my jump ring. So to close it, again using my pliers, I'm going to give it a little wiggle. I don't just want to close it because that will easily open again. So I'm going to give it a little wiggle from side to side, and you start to hear it clicking. And that's a good sign. We're work hardening the metal by moving it. And I'm actually moving it very slightly beyond where the closed position is on each side, so that when I bring it back, the tension of the metal really holds it in place. So it's quite a skill to master to close a jump ring well. So it's a good thing to have a little practice of. And if you do find that one is going on top of the other, you just make an adjustment with your pliers until you feel that it's really clicking into place. And some jump rings, and they're not all created equal, so if you have a tricky one, you might find life easier to just go ahead and replace it with another one. And then when you're happy it's in place and there's no daylight showing through, you can move on to the other side. And on the other side, I'm just going to pop on a jump ring. You could pop on a series of jump rings or a bigger chain to have an adjustable length at the back. That's another option. But for today, I'm just going to add a jump ring on, which is perfectly fine. And close it again. The first time you do these can feel a bit fiddly, but it does get easier, so stick with it. And then simply open the lobster clasp and pop it on. And there you have it, your finished 3-drop teardrop necklace. Lovely project, really beautiful to make and sell, or to make for yourself, or for lovely gifts. So enjoy making it. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and come and subscribe to the Jewelers Academy YouTube channel. We also have lots of online courses in jewelry making and how to run a successful jewelry business. So do stay in touch and feel free to visit our website at jewelersacademy.com. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you on another video soon. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you would like to find out more about our free online courses and join our community, visit us at jewelersacademy.com.